Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure, all Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also on Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel that's a great place to post questions, comments, and content related to the topics of my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. And note that Bookmap Discord is a large community of active traders. There's content on a wide variety of topics, wide variety of asset classes, including stocks, options, futures, crypto, and also a wide variety of languages. I'm also on X, formerly known as Twitter. My name there is at Doug Pless. Here are the key tenets of my approach to trading. This is the basis of my approach to trading. First of all, I believe options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures, and definitely in the large cap tech stocks that I follow, as well as equity futures, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. And also for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index. That's the S&P 500. SPY is the ETF version of that. And ES is a derivative of SPX and SPY. So when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they have to hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. That's what they use for the S&P 500 to hedge their delta exposure. And the same for the NASDAQ 100. NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the ETF version of that index. It's much more liquid. And NQ is a derivative of NDX. And again, when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. So I'm going to look at the levels of gamma-weighted open interest, and this is where I expect traders and market makers to react. I'm also looking at how these levels change from day to day to develop my thesis. For example, if the certain levels are going up higher day after day, that indicates traders are looking for and expecting and positioning themselves for higher prices. The second step in my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. And for example, for the S&P 500, setups can be taken with ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, or SPX options, or even ES options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel and Discord, as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions and comments. Please feel free to post, and I'll do my best to answer your questions. All right, here's my agenda for today, Wednesday, February 21st. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for today as well as the rest of the week. And then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today, and then I'll take a look at the live market. All right, let's start with news. There was a bond auction today, 20-year, I believe, 20-year note auction at 1 p.m. We'll take a look at the reaction to that. Initially bearish, and then at 2 p.m. today, FOMC minutes come out. So wherever I am in my presentation, I will stop and we'll take a look at the S&P 500 to see if there's any reaction to the FOMC minutes. Also, NVIDIA reports earnings after the market closes today, and I want to take a deep dive on NVIDIA before the earnings to see how traders and market makers are positioned in NVIDIA before the earnings, and we'll also take a look at the price action and what options traders are doing today in NVIDIA. And then just quickly for the rest of the week, tomorrow jobless claims come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, PMI data at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time. Then there are a variety of Fed speakers throughout the week. So today is definitely the big day of the week for news. All right, let's move on to positional analysis now. And just to wrap up the news, this was the reaction to the bond auction. Initially bearish from VWAP, that's shown by the light blue line, down to around 49.55. That is SPX 49.55, noted as a support level on the Spotgamma Founders Note. So this is the ES futures and Bookmap. Before I take a closer look at this chart, I do want to step back and look at a larger time frame. And I'm going to go to the underlying index, which is SPX. I'm going to start with a one-day chart. This is Thinkorswim, a one-day chart. Current rally for SPX began last year, October 30th, and from low to high was about 940 points. All right, so that gives us a bigger context that right now SPX is in this upper end of the range, near the top of this rally. Looks like some consolidation after the call-dominated options expiration last Friday. All right, let's take a look now at a little bit shorter time frame. Let's go to a 1 hour chart so we can see the top of this price action, the rally. Here's that same diagonal line that I drew from the 10:30, October 30th, beginning of the rally. Note during this year, the call walls, I'll talk more about that in just a minute, have moved up from 4,800 to 5,100. That's where the call wall is now. Also note this is the January expiration. Friday, January 19th, options expiration, call-dominated options expiration. And that for that expiration, price action was actually bullish. SPX broke out above the 4,800 level and has gradually made it up to around 50.50. All right, let's take a look at levels on this chart now. I'm going to zoom in a bit. First of all, the dashed horizontal purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market. I update this once a week, and these levels remain in place throughout the entire week. Then the dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move, also based on the options market. I update this once a day. This is based on the close yesterday, and I post both of these numbers in Discord, Bookmap Discord, in the Options-Doug chat channel the evening before. So I posted these numbers yesterday evening. And note SPX right now is trading within both those ranges, closer to the lower daily expected move. All right, so those are the expected moves. Now the other lines on this chart are Spotgamma levels. These are proprietary Spotgamma levels. They're provided to subscribers, shown on a variety of trading platforms. This is Thinkorswim, again a 30-day 1 hour chart. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, here's the put wall at 4,800. That's a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. The next level up is the volatility trigger at 49.95. That's Spotgamma's proprietary gamma and volatility flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. On the other hand, above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to decrease or subdue volatility. And note that SPX is trading below that level. Just above that level, that's the absolute gamma strike at 5,000. That's a strike with large absolute positive and negative gamma. That's where most of the gamma weighted open interest is concentrated. And then above that is the call wall at 5,100. That's a strike with large net negative positive gamma, and that can be expected to act as resistance. So the put wall at 4,800, the potential floor, and the ceiling, potential ceiling at 5,100, the call wall. Note there was only one shift in level. The put wall shifted higher from yesterday, from 4,500 up to 4,800. All right, finally, let's take a look at the levels in play for today. And we'll take a quick look at a 1-minute chart. And not much to see here. That 49.55 that I'll point out in just a minute, right down here, this was noted in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. I put that on my chart, but it's not shown on this chart. So in the range today, there are no SPX Spotgamma levels in play. Mainly SPY levels. All right, so this is the Bookmap chart for ES. Let me check for questions. All right, Benjamin asked, does Bookmap need much RAM? I suggest going to the Bookmap website, bookmap.com, and look up system requirements. My computer has 64 gigabytes of RAM. And Benjamin says the heat maps don't load on your device. I can't read all that. I only have a free account. So I think if you want to see full Bookmap, you probably need to subscribe to Glover or Glover Plus. And a free account will show crypto, I believe, and delayed data for stocks. And hello, Caesar. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, so this is the ES Futures and Bookmap. I have my own cloud notes here, so I can show SPX levels. There's that 49.55 level that I was talking about, noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. Here's the 49.50 level. That's not in play for today, but that is below. That was also noted as support in the Spotgamma AM Founders Note. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX, and today it is around 14 points. So I'm showing SPX 49.50 at ES 49.64. And actually I may be using 14.5. Let me just check on that real quick. Oops. No, I am using 14. I may need to refresh. Yeah. I changed it from 14.5 to 14 this morning and did not refresh. So now I'm showing the SPX levels at the correct location. So that 4950 now label has disappeared behind a SPY level, and that is at 4964 now. And the 4955 level is at ES 4969. I also have SPY levels on this chart. These two levels have been in play for today, acting as support and resistance, especially in the morning. There's the SPY 495 volatility trigger, also the 0 gamma level, and above that is the 496 level. That's a large gamma 4 level. And this morning, ES was pinging between these two levels. Very good range day trading, taking shorts at 496 and long at 495. All right, so very narrow range today for the S&P 500. Again, trading primarily between these two SPY levels, 495 and 496. So just about a 10-point range for most of the day so far, except after the 1 p.m. bond auction. All right, shifts in levels. Again, put wall for SPX shifted higher, and for SPY, the volatility trigger shifted lower to 495, shown right here. All right, so minor shifts in levels for the S&P 500. Let's move on to NASDAQ. All right, NASDAQ, I'm going to take a quick look at underlying charts and the underlying index products for NASDAQ. I'm going to start with QQQ. This is a 1-minute chart for QQQ. 425 level, acting as resistance. And that is a large gamma 2 level. And then after the bond auction, the 423 level, acting as support. So a pretty narrow range for NASDAQ as well, but a little bit wider range than the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look at NDX, the other underlying index product. And here this combo level $458 has been acting as resistance, 17,458. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. All right, so here's this level of resistance. Again, I have my own cloud notes in Bookmap. So I'm showing NDX levels. There's that 458 combo 3 level that I just mentioned, and also the QQQ 425 level, large gamma 2, both acting as resistance and good entry points for short. And note each time those levels were tested, NQ was making a little bit lower highs. And here's the lower daily expected move for NQ. NQ tested that level along with the QQQ 423 level just above that. And then this is the lower weekly expected move. All right, so that's NQ futures in Bookmap. We'll take a look at setups in just a few minutes. All right, for NDX, the put wall did move lower. And then for QQQ, the volatility at trigger and put wall also moved higher, lower. So slightly bearish for NASDAQ. Shifts in levels, slightly bearish. All right, let's finish up the positional analysis. We'll take a look at gamma notional. We'll see how market makers were positioned on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day. So this is gamma notional, market makers position on the gamma curve again at the beginning of the day for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. All these numbers move lower from yesterday. Still, this is neutral for SPX and slightly negative for SPY, and then more negative for QQQ. So a negative gamma notional indicates that traders are, on this portion of the gamma curve, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, and they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. All right, let's take a look also at the Vanna model. In a negative gamma environment, it becomes much more interesting. So what this chart is showing is market makers' delta notional, their delta exposure, and how it may change with changes in price. That's shown by the light gray curve, price only, and then the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. That shows how market makers' delta notional may change with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta with a change in implied volatility is the Vanna effect. Vanna is a second order Greek. All right, let's take a look at some prices. So first of all, just after that bond auction, the low of the day for SPX was right around 49.54. So that's right around here. So what that's showing is if price drops, implied volatility increases, market makers' delta notional will increase, and they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. On the other hand, if price increases, implied volatility drops, they can buy back their short futures. Let's check on price now. SPX currently trading right around 49.64, so 10 points off the high of the day, but still on this leftward, this portion of the curve that is sloping upward from right to left. Let's take a look at SPY. SPY low of the day right around 494. Also on this portion of the Vanna model, sloping upward from right to left. SPY currently at 495, so just slightly down on this curve. QQQ. Low of the day, 423. So just like yesterday, pretty far up on this curve. All right, let's take a look at some setups now. And then again, Slotarazi points out FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. So I've got about 6 minutes. Let's take a look at some setups. So first of all, today, I want to take a look at what options traders were doing today. So everything that we've looked at so far, other than Bookmap, is based on static data. Updated once a day. Open interest data. Spotgamma takes that, applies their own proprietary algorithms to come up with the levels that I was showing. Now we're going to move on to execution, look at real-time data. So what this chart is showing is the hero signal, hedging impact real-time options. It's showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for a combined signal of SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures, all into one combined signal. The white line is price for SPX, and the purple line is the hero signal, again, hedging impact real-time options. A rising hero line indicates traders are taking positive delta positions. They are buying calls and or selling puts. On the other hand, a falling hero line indicates traders are taking negative delta positions. And that means they are selling calls and or buying puts. So in the first case, when traders take positive delta positions, market makers take the opposite side. They have to buy ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. And on the second case, with a falling hero signal, traders taking negative delta positions, market makers take the opposite side and they have to sell ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. All right, I'm going to zoom in now. And I want to show that this is the total signal showing puts and calls. Right now, I'm going to separate out puts and calls. And I'm going to leave the chart like this for everything else that we take a look at. All right, so the orange line is showing calls. Rising orange line indicates traders are buying calls. This is why I want to leave the line. When I shift from total to puts and calls and back, it triggers this auto zoom function for some reason. All right, so I'm going to just leave it like this from now on. Take a look at a couple of setups from this morning. So again, orange line showing traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. And then a rising blue line indicates traders are selling puts. Market makers again take the opposite side and they have to buy futures to hedge their delta exposure. So what I want to focus on is when both the blue line and the orange line are moving in the same direction. So that occurs first at 9:35 and second right around 10:30, and actually really gets going right around 11:05. All right, so let's go to Bookmap now. Go back to ES. I've got about 2 minutes. We'll take a quick look at this first setup. So we know that both the blue line and the orange line were moving in the same direction from about 9:35 to 10:05. And right here, this was the best opportunity for a long entry right at the 495 level. That's SPY 495. So even as the orange line and the blue line were moving up in the same direction, there was a deeper pullback to a level that I was looking for a long entry. Note also before that, large traders were coming in buying with iceberg orders. That's shown by the on-chart indicator and also the sub-chart indicator, the rising light blue line. And from that point, that reversal at the 495 level, note also the liquidity in the order book. There were a lot of buyers shown by the heat map in the order book. Those levels, that liquidity below, those are limit buy orders. And after that reversal at 495, ES makes a series of higher lows and then finally takes off up to 496. All right, so that was the long setup in the morning. It took some patience. All right, FOMC minutes coming up. So we'll wait on that. And let's zoom in a little bit. So a quick ping between 495 and VWAP. Let's see what options traders are doing. So traders started buying puts right around 11:15. Looks like that still continues. Blue line falling, call line pretty flat. So they could continue to buy puts. So in this situation, I would be looking for a short just based on hero here. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. And reading the notes, some concerned inflation progress could stall. Policy rate seen likely at peak. Some traders selling with iceberg orders. This is not big size at all, but those are iceberg orders that's shown by the falling light blue line, also the on-chart indicator. Let's go back and see what options traders are doing. Still buying puts, not doing much with calls. Let's check another signal. What this is the Mag 7 signal. And what this is a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven. That is Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla. Looks like there is a jump in price for the QQQ. That's what this price is showing, QQQ. But so far the hero signal is still bearish. Traders buying puts and selling calls in the Mag 7 stocks. Let's go back to Bookmap. So now our price is spiking higher. Excuse me just a minute. All right, so far the 495 support, 496 resistance still in play, still working as before. Day like today, you just have to trust your levels. With VWAP right in the middle. Let's go back to Hero. So now it looks like I'm going to shift to a shorter look back period. So it looks like when this is right now, my look back period is the entire day. And sometimes when it flattens out in the afternoon, it's helpful to look at a shorter look back period. So now I'm just looking at the last 30 minutes of data. Zoom in on this a bit. So just after the release of the minutes, initially there was a little bit of a bearish reaction. Then traders started selling puts, buying calls. Let's go back to Bookmap. So again, same levels in play for today. $4.95 to $4.96. All right, I'm going to move on to NVIDIA. We'll come back to this in just a minute. So first of all, let's take a look at NVIDIA and Bookmap. So again, for those of you who may not be aware, NVIDIA reports earnings after the market closes. That's what they're talking about on all the news outlets that cover business and financial news. What I want to do is kind of take a deep dive and see how options traders are positioned in NVIDIA. So this is NVIDIA in Equity Hub, and I'm going to take a look at a variety of items here. First of all, this is volatility skew. And typically for an index, there's a pretty steep, like the S&P 500, a pretty steep put skew and not much of a call skew. So that would be for SPY, something like that. And what this chart is showing is volatility, heightened volatility for calls. And heightened volatility indicates higher prices. So when there's a demand for anything like calls, price goes up, implied volatility goes up. So this is showing a heightened demand for calls for NVIDIA. Let's take a look at the term structure. So this will show volatility by expiration. And implied volatility is on the vertical axis here. This is showing implied volatility for Friday expiration. Remember, for stocks, there are expirations every Friday for most of the stocks that I follow. So that's the heightened implied volatility for expiration on Friday. And then note the sharp drop in implied volatility. And that implied volatility, no matter what happens, will drop tomorrow. This is the fixed strike matrix. Note the green band here indicating that is for the Friday expiration 423. Green band indicates heightened volatility across this band of strikes shown on the chart here. Let's also take a look at this risk reversal, and this is comparing the implied volatility of a 25 delta call versus 25 delta put. This is the price shown by that kind of white gray line, and then this light purple line, that's the risk reversal, again comparing the price of implied volatility of a 25 delta call versus a put. Rising line indicates increased demand for calls, and that's over a period of time. Really from about 3 years worth of data. So this is most recent data. This risk reversal line has been rising, and prices responded higher. When traders buy calls, market makers sell the calls. They have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. Finally, let's take a look at history, and this will show a history of the key daily levels for the last 10 days. This is today. And note the absolute gamma strike, or the key gamma strike for stock, and the call wall have remained the same. Key gamma strike at 700, call wall at 800, and the put wall did move higher from 575 to 600. All right, so from NVIDIA, we know that there has been a very heightened demand for calls, and that implied volatility will most certainly drop tomorrow. And Caesar asked, have you ever seen such excitement, anxiety over one single earnings report like NVIDIA today? Feel like the interest over it is incredibly high. No, I don't think I have ever seen interest in one earnings report like this NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been kind of the ringleader of the AI stocks, and certainly the market leader for the last few months. All right, so let's take a look at Hero for NVIDIA, see what options traders are doing today. And I'm going to shift back to a one-day look-back period. All right, so what this is showing is that traders have been selling calls all day, and they've also been selling puts. That's shown by the positive notional value there, but that line is pretty flat, and the notional value is right around 47 million for puts, positive, versus minus 537 million for calls. Traders definitely selling calls today, taking advantage of that heightened volatility for calls and selling calls. All right, let's go take a look at the Bookmap. NVIDIA chopped around pretty much in the morning and then dropped pretty sharply right at noon. Let's go back and see what options traders are doing. And I really don't see anything here in Hero that would have led to that sharp drop in price. Pretty much a steady downtrend in the call signal. And at that time, they were also buying puts. All right, so there's NVIDIA now trying to make a comeback. All right, let's go back to the S&P 500. Still back in that narrow range. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. And for NASDAQ this morning, I thought the signal was definitely more clear than the S&P 500. Let's go back to Hero. I want to go to the Mag 7 signal. So again, this is a combined signal for the stocks known as the Magnificent Seven. And this often looks a lot like NVIDIA. NVIDIA is definitely a driver price for the Mag 7. and thus the NASDAQ itself. All right, so traders, after just about 10 minutes after the open, they started selling calls in the Mag 7 stocks, and these stocks are a large component of the NASDAQ 100. I have started looking at this signal for trading the NASDAQ rather than the signal for NASDAQ itself. We can take a look at that. This combines NDX and QQQ. All right, so they have been overall in NASDAQ selling puts and selling calls. Call sellers a little bit more aggressive. Let's go back to Mag 7. And let's take a look at, first of all, let's zoom in on this just a bit. Short setup, whoops. Short setup right around 9:45. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction down, sets up a short 9:40, 9:45. And also a short around 10:05. Traders start selling calls again. Put line flattens out. All right, so 9:30, 9:45 and 10:05 shorts. We'll zoom in. Oh, it was around 9:40. So there's the first short right around 9:40. Good for about 50 NASDAQ points from 500 down to 450. Here's the 10:05 set up. A little bit more clear. Resistance at the 458 level and the 425 level that I talked about before. As NQ made a series of lower highs. All right, looking beyond the levels at the clues in Bookmap here. Note cumulative volume delta falling. Also, sell stop orders fueling that move lower. Slight drop in the yellow line showing stop orders. And again for the second short, cumulative volume delta dropping. Also the yellow line continues to fall, showing sell stop orders again, and also the light blue line showing large traders selling with iceberg orders. As traders were selling calls in the Mag 7 stocks. All right, so oops, sorry about that. Got to turn that off. All right, so it looks like NQ heading back down towards the lower daily expected move. Also QQQ 424. Let's go back and check. Check Hero. All right, so the put line is flat. Traders have been selling calls pretty consistently. Looks like now they may be buying calls. Let's go take a look at the S&P 500. So far, continue to buy puts. Not doing much with calls. Let me check for questions. All right, Justin asks, is level 2 and a broker the same as using Bookmap? Well, it depends on what form the level 2 data is supplied. If it's just in a, I would say no. Bookmap presents data in a unique way that helps you to interpret order flow. So Bookmap is using that data to present the order flow in a very graphical form that helped you to make trading decisions. So Stephen says he doesn't think so. I agree. All right, let's go back to Bookmap. ES continues to trade in a very narrow range between 495 and 496. Let's take a look at one other stock. Amazon was also in the news. It will be added to the Dow Jones Industrial Average on Monday, replacing Walgreens Boots Alliance. Let's see what options traders have been doing today in Amazon. So net for the day, they are buying calls, not doing much with puts. Let's just take a look at the total signal. So slightly positive for the day. Really not much to see there. Oh, the one thing let's go back. Let's go back to Amazon. One thing I meant to point out was the reversal at the 170 call wall. 170, the call wall, key gamma strike acting as resistance as expected. There's the 170 call wall. Acting as resistance, good entry point for a short, good for a couple of points in Amazon. Let's go back to ES now. So ES now breaking below that 495 level. Let's take a look, see what options traders have been doing. Make sure I'm on the full day look back period. Zoom in a bit. So they continue to buy puts. Let's go back. Let's go to 30 minutes. All right, so that does provide more clarity for sure. So just looking at the last 30 minutes of data, providing a very clear signal. The initial move higher quickly reversed. Trader started selling calls, buying puts. Blue line, orange line moving in the same direction, and that's definitely bearish. Let's go back to Bookmap. So Hero shifts bearish as ES reaches that SPY 496 level that it has acted as resistance earlier in the day. Pullback entry short. Now breaking below the 495 level. And below the lows of the day for the cash session. Next levels below the 49.50 level, noted as supported in Spotgamma AM Founders Note, and the SPY 494 level. And Stephen, thank you for your detailed answer to the level 2 data question. So thanks for your help, Stephen. So quick ping from 495 up to 496 resistance. Traders start selling calls, buying puts, and ES moves lower. Let's go back to Hero. All right, so both the blue line, orange line continue to move in the same direction, down. I've got a couple minutes left. Does anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at? And we'll watch this 495 level, see if it acts as resistance now. Some large traders are fading this little move higher with iceberg orders, shown by the falling light blue line. All right, Abu wants to look at NQ. Then we'll come back and check if that 495 level will act as resistance. NQ more bearish today. Now NQ trading below its lower daily expected move and lower weekly expected move. Zoom back out. So for the day, NQ has been making a series of lower highs. Now breaking below this 450 level, which acted as support before multiple tests below that level. Now breaking down. All right, so there's NQ. All right, let's go back and watch ES. Watching to see if ES makes it up to 495, see if that acts as resistance. Fias asked your SPX gamma level is 49.55 or 49.60. 49.55. This is the 49.55 level. Noted as support in the Spotgamma founder's note. And then just below that is the 49.50 level. That's shown by the white line there. The label is obscured by the SPY 494 level. Both levels noted as support in the Spotgamma founder's note. And note there is a difference in price between ES and SPX. 14 points. So the offset between SPX and ES is 14 points. Let's go back to Hero. All right, so traders now are starting to buy calls and sell puts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. My time is up. So it looks like overall the reaction to the FOMC minutes was bearish for both the ES and NASDAQ. So if anything interesting happens, I'll post it in Discord this afternoon. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. And tomorrow we will talk about the NVIDIA earnings. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.